Okay, so as you're doing that, slowly but surely, they get used, they're acclimated to it, you know, and it's not a sudden change. If you suddenly went from 3 inches deep to 18 inches deep, you could have problems. But by doing that, not only are you diluting the toxins and keeping them healthy, but you're gradually increasing the depth. And like I said, 4 gallons in a 5-gallon bucket is very deep. 4 gallons in a 10-gallon tank is very shallow. And having that depth in there and that volume at the circular cylindrical shape in there gives them the volume, the depth, the area, the mass volume of water, and the curvature that they need to absolutely grow the fastest and be the healthiest. Your fry that are raised in a 5-gallon bucket versus fry that are raised in a 10-gallon tank will be infinitely higher survival rate, infinitely stronger, infinitely healthier, infinitely grow faster. I mean, across the board, they're infinitely better off in a 5-gallon bucket. And that volume, once you get up, you know, near the top, you're gonna have to stop and you won't be able to add water anymore. But that takes anywhere from a week to a week and a half. If you're adding it the way I said, like 1/8 of a gallon at a time, every 36 hours you want to add roughly 1/8 of a gallon every 36 hours to your tank. And at that rate, it stretches it out for quite a while, and by the time you get to the point where you can't add any more water, your fry are ready for a sponge filter. And you gotta have a sponge filter. You cannot raise fry. You will never have success. You'll never have a good amount of them survive. You'll be lucky if you have one survive. It is an impossibility to breed and raise beta fry without a sponge filter. Any other type of filter will actually kill the fry, and it will create too much water turbulence and disturbance that isn't good for them. The sponge filter diffuses the turbulence and makes it nice and gentle in there. But like I said, the breathing alone, let alone any leftover food particles or feces or urine or anything else, but with 500 to 1,000 fry in less than 10 gallons of water or less, the water becomes toxic so fast it's ridiculous. So I mean, you don't have a choice. You have to have a sponge filter. If you don't have a sponge filter, you will never have any success breeding whatsoever. And like I said, you'll be lucky if you have a single fry even make it to adulthood. So you've got to have a sponge filter. That's one of your most important tools that you need in your arsenal for breeding. And let's see, what else should I tell you? Okay, let's go over feeding real quick. Give me 1 sec. I got to set you down just for a second here so I can do this. But for the first 2 weeks, you want to feed them decapsulated baby brine shrimp. There's nothing else that you want to feed them. There's nothing you can do about it. It's got to be decapsulated baby brine shrimp. And after the first, after the first 2 weeks, then you can move on to this. And this is the flake food that I sell. Do not give yourself the delusional impression that you can just run out to the pet store and buy any kind of flake food and feed your baby beta fry with it. It's not going to work. I spent a decade combing the planet trying every single different type of available fish and beta food in the world. And this is the kind that I sell is the only kind of flake I have ever found that not only will the betas eat, they won't even eat 99 out of 100 kinds of flake food that's sold, but nutritionally it has everything they need. It has the color enhancing stuff they need, and it has all their nutritional needs covered. So what you do is you put some of the flakes that I sell in your hand, and all you got to do is take your finger, see if I can do this with one hand, take your finger and swirl it around in there, and it grinds it up into a really fine powder. You can also take 2 fingers and pinch it together, and it will do the same thing. It will crush it up into a really fine powder, and the fine powder is what they'll eat. But it becomes very, very fine, and you just feed it to them and they'll eat it. But for the first 2 weeks, you don't have a choice. You've got to get decapsulated baby brine shrimp. After the 2 weeks, you can get the very, very cheap, it's only a couple dollars, you can get the beta fry flake food that I sell, and